Good morning, my name is Delphine Thibault. I'm an associate professor at Aix-Marseille University in France. I would like to share with you today some thoughts on marine conservation initiative undertaken in France with a special interest on sea-land interaction in the case study of the Calanques National Park. France's marine heritage is one of the most important in the world, present in all oceans except in the Arctic. France has the second largest maritime space in the world. To protect this heritage, France is pursuing a proactive policy of creating and managing marine protected areas in all its waters. 10% of the world's coral reefs and 20% of atolls are located in French waters. Nearly 10% of the world's marine species diversity is present overseas. In July 2019, 20.5% of French waters are covered by at least one marine protected area. The target of 20% by 2020, twice as high as international commitments, has already been achieved in 2019. During the last IUCN, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, the world's largest conservation organization, the French President Emmanuel Macron announced an extension of highly protected areas in the Mediterranean Sea, which currently is only 0.2% of the waters. He wants to increase that number up to 5% by 2027 and 10% in 2030. Other strong commitment, as France will hold in 2022 the presidency of the European Union, is to accelerate the phase out of pesticides by a 50% reduction in the next 10 years. Networks of MPAs are reserve of park within France and its neighboring countries, Spain, Italy, Greece, and so on through the Mediterranean Sea could be quite important. But if we look into the Gulf of Lyon, there's only a couple of parks that are actually implemented so far. So a lot of MPAs might be actually just a blackboard initiative so far, and we need to implement a lot more of them. The interesting study behind MPAs is also to understand the connectivity between MPAs. And as such, climatic impacts on connectivity are also important to study. So to lead conservation, we need a scope of climate change, all the stressors, and the understanding on the ecosystem functioning. The Calanques National Park has indeed emerged as the only tool to protect and sustainably manage a territorium that's not only terrestrial or marine, but also peri-urban. So we're dealing with land, city, and the marine environment at once. The Calanques are actually an emblematic zone of the Mediterranean Sea, known for not only its landscape value, which are beautiful rock formation, great ocean, amazing seascape, but also for its remarkable biodiversity and cultural heritage. In the heart of the Aix-Marseille Provence metropolis, the Parc National des Calanques is under multiple pressures, not only from cities such as urban pressure, pollution, overcrowding, excessive collection, forest fires, but also from marine threats such as diving at some point, boating, anchorage, and so on. Citizens living in the Calanques for over 100 years had a strong will to protect those hotly felt Calanques, and such as association of inhabitants and users have been gathering together to protect those Calanques. But we had to wait up to the 90s for recognition of the urgency to act to preserve this special heritage. So in 1999, a GIP, a public interest group, has been created, which actually grouped together not only representatives of the state, but also public establishment, local authorities, and members of a civil association, and also protection of the environment, users, owners, inhabitants, professionals. All together, they've been trying to put together some regulation and a good use of the Calanque. Only in April 2012 that the Calanque was actually became the 10th French National Park, following a reform on the national parks that was done in 2006. The realization of the Calanque National Park occurred on April 18, 2012, with the decree of creation of the Calanque National Park. That park is therefore not only marine or peri-urban, but also a terrestrial park, and it's the first metropolitan national park created since 1979, quite a while back, and the first that's entirely done according to the provision of the law of 2006. The national park can be actually split in different areas: the terrestrial heart, the marine heart, the area of adhesion, the adjacent marine area, and the no-take zone. The terrestrial heart of 8.5 thousand acres covered 3 cities from Marseille to Cassis to La Ciotat, a metropolis of over 1.8 million inhabitants. This doesn't actually take into account all the tourists that come through the year. The marine heart is 43.5 thousand acres, while the area of adhesion is 2.6 thousand acres. So all that actually is covering a very large biodiversity, both marine and terrestrial. Over 140 protected terrestrial animals and plant species actually are found within the park, while 60 marine heritage species are found in the overall marine park. The traffic within the park, because it's a very appealing sector in Marseille, it's very beautiful to walk into the Calanque, it's really easy access, bring about 2 million visitors on land and sea per year, so twice as much population as actually the tourists. So it's a very large amount of people that wants to enjoy the beauty of the Calanque. And because the park is actually bringing even better condition, brings even more tourism. The Port-Cros National Park is more or less an older brother to the Calanque National Park, as it was founded in 1963, so it's over 50 years old, and mainly around the Port-Cros archipelago, but was extended to Port-Caron in 2012. In that sector you can find the same different assets that the National Park of Calanque do hold, like no-take zone, very limited activities in some sectors. But the main difference is actually the Port-Cros National Park is not attached to the mainland. So access is much harder than on the Calanque, as you can drive or walk there. So the amount of people that actually enjoying and being in contact with the national park, it's much lower. So the pressure also, we'll see later, are much lower. But to show you how the park can actually be an example of good work is to look at the number of dusky grouper. And when the park was created in 1963, only 4 grouper were found, those really large fish. And in 2008, the population was up to 563, and in 2019-2020, over 700 fish were counted. So the way the park is actually working can be shown in the number of those very large emblematic fish.